Assalamu alaikum. This is Megan Wyatt answering your question here at About Islam. So, the very last part of your question, you said you're looking for an Islamic perspective. You don't know what to do. Based on your description, you've painted a path of someone that has, a lot of compulsive struggles from how he spends money. He's been in jail several times due to being in debt severely, from hiring prostitutes and visiting other women. Not being there for you through labor and delivery, after a car accident, when someone in your family was murdered. All of these things, even to just show up and offer a hug and some consolation, these things are pretty easy, right? They don't even cost money, they don't take a lot of time. But even those things which are simple, which come naturally to most people, even people that have kind of rough around the edges character, even people that have, personal struggles, even those things are missing. So when you ask, what's an Islamic perspective? What is it that you're supposed to do? I think what you need to ask yourself is, what do you want? What can you handle? And what kind of a future do you want for yourself and for your daughter that you now have? It's been 7 years, and you basically got kicked out of university initially. Your entire life has been kind of unraveling as a result of the situation that you've been in. It's been hard for you emotionally, and it's been hard for you physically. It's been hard for you spiritually. So you really need to ask yourself, what do you want? As Muslims, we are allowed to, have a vision for the life that we would like to lead. There are tests that come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to, test our faith, test the strength of our iman, to shape us, to teach us, for us to grow, no doubt. But there is nothing within our religion that says that you don't get to decide what is best for you or best for your daughter. It sounds like you've been thinking about him this whole time, but at the same time being in shock and hurt and loneliness that he's not thinking about you. So as the old saying is, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Your husband has made it very clear the kind of man that he is right now. He has said, when his back up's against the wall, basically that he might change, but he hasn't done anything to change. When somebody says they're going to change, there has to be some very specific stipulations that prove that. It can't just be, hey, I'm going to say this and you have to have faith in me, because their actions have taken away that right for someone to just believe in them. When someone has violated your trust over and over again, they can't take for granted anymore that you're going to just listen to what they say and believe them. There has to be some new rules in place. If you're going to stay in this relationship, there has to be some new rules in place. Rules about transparency, first of all, what he's doing, and him being open to having you, being able to, or anyone else even, have access to his emails, his phone. No more secrecy. Anytime you have somebody that has some kind of a compulsive behavior that is reckless and harming others, the first and most important step is to remove their right to secrecy, because they cannot function anymore in the environment they currently have. They need to have full transparency and have someone they are accountable to. That does not have to be you, but there needs to be accountability to someone else. And he has this on multiple levels, right? So there's the cheating aspect, the infidelity aspect. There's also the financial aspect. This is an individual who clearly is not ready to be in a marriage where he has a degree of responsibility to another human being, because he's struggling to take care of himself. This is a person who spiritually is in deep trouble. And I say that to you because that's where compassion comes in. It allows you to stop personalizing his actions. It has nothing to do with you, or that you haven't been a loving, supportive, wonderful wife, or all of these things. He is a struggling person, and he genuinely needs help. Whether or not he's going to get that, that's going to be up to him. But for you to stay in the relationship, there needs to be boundaries, there needs to be transparency, there needs to be, intervention. And an intervention is the only way that I see, from based on your description, that you two are going to be able to move forward in any way. And even if what you're really asking is, can you leave this man? And the answer is yes. Divorce is always your right. He's still the father of your daughter. And so whichever way you go, you would want him to get help. You would want him to get support. You would want him to be forced, if need be, to have an intervention. I mean, he's already been to prison, right? So, clearly rehabilitation isn't working for him yet. He needs to be committed to something, and he needs to know why. And he needs to know what he's going to lose if he doesn't. And unfortunately, with individuals that are struggling with things like this, sometimes the only language they really can understand is the serious language of full-on consequences. What can he lose in his life that he really doesn't want to lose? It could be access to his daughter in the future if he keeps this up. He could end up in jail again. Is that the life he wants? And so I would hope that there's someone in his life that can sit him down and help him understand which direction he's consistently going in. But for you, you need to decide what direction you want to go in. If you're going to stay in the relationship, you need to stop expecting him to be someone that he cannot be right now. And I'm sorry that that's the reality and it's unfortunate, but I think you already have recognized that this is not someone who's changing. This is not someone who has the capacity to be anybody else right now. Aside from a miracle, most of us can't make a major, massive life transformation by ourselves. There are people where it does happen, where they seriously come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then literally from that day forward, they completely change their life around. It does happen, but I would say that based on statistics, it's not very likely. So I'd like you to not have expectations anymore that are going to continue to crush you and break your heart. You sound like a lovely woman who has really struggled in this relationship. You've done your best to protect his honor, to hide things from public scrutiny. You know, you've really done your best. You have to ask yourself now, what about you? You need to be a little bit selfish here and take care of yourself. What do you want and what do you need? And that is the Islamic perspective. You can't be forced to stay with someone who hurts you. You can't be forced to stay with someone who doesn't provide for you. You can't be forced to stay with someone who's consistently cheating on you. You need to think about you right now, you and your daughter. And I see that you're already doing that. You've gone back to school, you're working, you're raising her. Keep moving along that path. Keep moving along that path. Ask yourself again, what do you want? What do you want your future to be? And lay it out for everyone to be clear. This is what you want. This is what you can't tolerate. This is what you're willing to tolerate. This is what you're going to do. And you need to move forward with that. Otherwise, another 10 years from now passes, where will you be? Where might your daughter be if this man gets no intervention and he gets no help, and you two continue to suffer the consequences, of his reckless behavior? So Islam has mercy built into it, and even in marriage, a woman has so many rights for her to be honored with and to be taken care of. So consider where you're at. So again, if you choose to stay, you need to understand, first of all, the reality of your husband. Second of all, to put some boundaries and some very specific requirements. And if those aren't going to happen, what are the consequences for that? Are you leaving? Are you separating? And who do you need to get involved to get through to him? So may Allah genuinely help you. I'm really sorry for the pain that you've been in. But I know that in this test, I pray that there is good for you in your patience, and there's learning for you as well, and there will be a healing that comes once you decide what you want to do on your path. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.